Like, could you imagine? Same thing. Like you bought a house like that, sight unseen, and then you
Right.
roll up and you take a walk around outside, and that's what you see, and there's no going back after.
Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast for real estate pros by real estate pros with your hosts, Ashley Frederick and Stephen Birch. If you're looking for an honest, authentic, and raw perspective, you found it.
All right. Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast. Today's topic is I think, a fun one. Maybe very eye-opening experience for both you and I. So Ashley has been looking for a second home in Arizona. We've been all over the place. Well, you've been all over the place as far as where exactly in Phoenix or Scottsdale, Glendale, all the fun places. And I got to tag along on this last little adventure of home tours, which I have to tell you is kind of odd. I mean, not in a bad way, but like I'm used to the one having to go and open up the lockbox and opening up the door and
I
all of
like
that fun
that.
stuff. Yeah. So we have Des, who is the one that is helping you during this journey. And I feel like I had to turn on all the lights and turn off. So I almost kind of had to make sure I don't step on anybody's toes. But anywho, we looked at, I don't remember how many that first day, 4 or 5 different
Oh,
houses. And
5. Mm-hmm.
um, one of the houses that we got to actually was a big contender for you,
Yeah,
right? Like
layout was perfect.
everything was there. So take us through what happened next. What did we discover?
Yeah, I mean, and it's also I think different. Yes, when you're a realtor, and so I had been on video call, and I think it's very different being the realtor than being the buyer. So like when
Mm-hmm.
I was on the video call, it didn't feel like I was actually able to look at the house because I was more so concerned about the video call. So interesting
Mm-hmm.
note there. So then I actually would wait to call him, or I'd turn off and then actually look at the house. But I was doing my little video call while you and Des went outside. And yeah, the kitchen and the living room's in the back. There was some extra game rooms, like the layout that we were looking for. Um, Go outside and then same thing, like layout looks pretty ideal, big covered porch. And then the look on Dez's face maybe told me that there was something else going on that I needed to check out. Sure enough, walk to the back of the pool and look over the fence, which then I realized that there was a smell that I couldn't quite put my nose on when I went outside. But the neighboring lawn had no grass, which in some situations is fine if they have rock or turf or whatever, but this was
Mm-hmm.
just flat on dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there was like maybe 50 piles of dog poop in the whole entire yard. And you got to also remember that it's like 95 there, so it's just
Mm-hmm.
like baking in the sun. Also, like probably a little bit worrisome in that there was like a trampoline and a kid's playhouse all surrounded by this. Um, and so
Mounds, mounds, mounds. A dog shit.
not only are we looking at it as a second home for us, but we're also have the intentions of wanting to rent it out to friends, families, etc. And I could just see now like feedback on, like when you read reviews on VBR, like house smells like shit, like looked over the fence and saw this, right? Like that's gonna really help with
Mm-hmm.
reviews. So yeah, right. But it's also you think about that, like if you didn't have the right realtor, because I mean, I don't know if I would have looked over the fence because I was so concerned with being on my phone and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like house is great, so it's just a matter of like right, really knowing like what one finding a realtor that you trust, but two like knowing the surroundings, making the time to look over fences, those
Mm-hmm.
types of things, because even I think about being a virtual buyer, and I know that I do it all the time with my clients. Also, I feel like I look really hard for them, but I couldn't do it. There's just like no
Mm-mm.
part of me, probably because I see real estate transaction all the time. What happens? I just couldn't do it. And like, could you imagine? Same thing. Like you bought a house like that, sight unseen, and then you
Right.
roll up and you take a walk around outside, and that's what you see, and there's no going back after that.
Mm-mm. And it was almost like this deflating. Like
Yeah.
all three of us kind of were just deflated. Like, one, gross. Two, how freaking sad
Yeah.
that that is how people are choosing to live. And then poor seller of trying to sell that house, because I mean I'm sure that is probably a constant feedback that they're getting, that the smell and just the unsanitary portion of everything. And then we started talking about the difference between being in an HOA versus not being in an HOA. And this house actually happened to not be in an HOA.
Oh, this one
So
was in an HOA.
this one was.
Yes. That's why
Shut
she
up.
even we can talk about the one that wasn't in an HOA.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, that one's a whole different story.
yeah, this one was, which I think Des was even more surprised, but then that's how I asked, like, okay, so you have the HOA, but really I think the HOAs are geared towards the front of your home, which like the
Sure.
front of that home, I mean, it still didn't look 100%, but like, how do
Mhm.
these HOAs actually know what's going on in the back of the
Mhm.
lawn? And like, I'd love to look at those HOA disclosures to see what that is, because I mean, that could affect the sale of any, surrounding home in that area.
Of course. So then when we were driving, we were talking about the sight unseen aspect of it. And as we all know, that I'm in the military community, so it happens all the time. But like just we got into the conversation of, yes, we think that we know that we're very good with our clients, but what would have happened if we would have not caught that, right? Like a sight unseen, we're good. And now what kind of liability, what kind of pressure does that put on us for missing something like that? What if the weather conditions were something completely different you couldn't smell and you didn't happen
Rainy
to
and
look over?
cold, so you didn't go
Right.
outside.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was just so eye-opening to be able to see, from multiple different perspectives of how this could have gone completely wrong. And thankfully, I think you have a very, 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 very good realtor helping you through this process. But two, when you're, I think you know how the market is in your area, and you know the contracts in your area. There's these questions, or these, maybe for me too, thoughts that I'm like, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, but how they actually handle it and how they do it is totally different. And it's almost like a whole new experience. I mean, it is a whole new experience for us. So asking the questions, even though that you think you might already know it from your perspective, but like it almost became a pop quiz for Des in the car of, what about this? What about this? And she definitely handled it like a champ.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that especially when you think about like Arizona, like tons of people have second homes, right? And so like their only experience might be like whatever state that they're in. And I mean, even like Wisconsin to Michigan is very different contracts. And so yes, I've got to see the Arizona contracts, and they are wildly different than ours, and wildly different disclosures. So, interestingly enough, there was a house that we liked, and it was basically for sale by owner, like a limited listing, and that person had a unrepresented buyer that they were working with. And again, like being on the other side and seeing how he was treating like us compared to the unrepresented buyer, like told us what their offer was, which we know, like in our world, like you don't
mhm,
do, because that's not fair to the other party. And like we caught him in a couple of lies, but like those unrepresented buyers probably have no idea. So like this whole process to me has like solidified why we do what we do, why there's
mhm,
buyer agency, why you have an agent on scene. Like I
mhm,
kind of feel sorry for the unrepresented buyers, because they probably got half of the disclosures, didn't know the questions to ask.
mhm. And even looking at the different listings, the cell phone photos,
There's
and the lack of disclosures and documentation, and I mean, the property that you guys, ultimately liked, you did a cubicasta yourself because you had it. And, those things are not readily available for really on any of those listings that I saw. I mean, very, very few actually even had professional photography, in my opinion.
No, I mean, and like, right, Ben wasn't with, so he wanted to understand the floor plan, so that's why
Hmm.
we did it. But imagine on these other listings, like if you were truly working for your seller and you know that a lot of these buyers are not in state, like, why wouldn't you invest in a floor plan so that somebody could see it? Or
Right.
why wouldn't you invest in, pictures? I think even like I said to that one, like, man, had that bit had professional pictures, I bet you would have sold faster just because the pictures that were online look not good.
I mean, your photos that you took with
Oh
your
my
cell
God.
phone were even better than the listing photos. Like,
Yeah, and it's
it,
sad.
yeah. And then you look at the days on market, and I think that it's really easy to be able to identify, like, there's a lot of factors on that one, being on the market for 100 or whatever the number was, 100 days. Well, then you add in the lack of marketing skills that were there and lack of representing the property. Then you throw in kind of the fly by the seat of his pants and being all over the place and how he treats people.
Horrible.
Like, no wonder you haven't sold the house yet. Like,
Yeah, and
you had
and like
this,
an offer had fallen apart, and like now you really makes you wonder why or what all happened.
right?
Like obviously there were some things that came up in the inspection that were repaired, but I was like, so many other things had to have gone on. This makes total sense.
No, no. And then I think the other thing too is we all know that, I'll speak for myself, and you can say if it's true for you or not. Maybe we have high expectations, and I don't think they're that high, but on quality of finished
Construction.
work and construction, and even the Airbnb that we were staying at, like, I had to text you beforehand and be like, yeah, this is not a Frederick construction type of quality. So just FYI when you get here. And also, thank goodness Ben is not going to be with us because he would be flipping out
He
over
would
these
be.
floors the entire time. I know he would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but in almost every house that we went into, it was the same poor quality of construction. Wild.
Well, and I think like wild because like what they're looking at like for a price point and like here and
Yeah.
I'm like we have a similar price points like it would probably be
Hmm.
$250,000 less.
Hmm.
But even that like our homes at that price point here in this town are like impeccable, like
Hmm.
very high quality or whatnot. And like you can change those things, but again, like that comes with a price tag and it's just so different how like I think in those big cities like Phoenix, Scottsdale, etc., like they were just built on the masses and
Hmm.
quicker you could get it done, the cheaper you could get it done, and like that,
Hmm.
those a lot of those houses are from the 90s, so they're almost 30 years into their construction. Like you can really start to tell like that it was builder grade.
If we, it's like between do it yourself and builder grade.
Yes.
Like, it was
So I think
shoddy.
it was the same day we went to one that I was really excited about because it was currently a VRBO. So I was like, great, you could like walk
Hmm.
into that. Pictures were great, so I'll give them props for that. That one definitely had no HOAs. So now, like, you always like bounce back and forth of what's the benefit of an HOA. Yep.
Right.
So there were like campers everywhere. There was old, beat up, trashed cars. There was garbage everywhere. Like
Hmm.
no grass, no rock on next, like just as we're driving through the neighborhoods. But that one, we got there just a touch early, like maybe 20 minutes. So there's no way they were going to be ready for us anyway. But we must have got there like after a bachelorette party.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was trashed. Like fire pit outside, which is like one of those glass heat type
Hmm.
stone was like shattered all over the place. And I mean, you could tell that in that situation, that must have been something that someone solely uses as an investment that they don't actually like
Hmm.
live in when they're there. I, I mean, that was like what a 10-minute walk around. I'm like, I'm good. We're good. I'm
Yep.
out.
Like, again, the when you can see waves in the floor, and it has great Pinterest picture perfect
Yeah.
pictures, but those were not true representation of how that property was. And then we started talking about this house had a lot of pink and murals, and really honestly portrayed as a bachelorette party type of environment. And so whatever type of environment that you're creating for the your guest, that probably is what you're going to get and attract. So making sure that this is something that is not just a party house, and having higher standards and making sure that's clearly listed out there. But I
Well, I
mean,
think like we
the
talked about, like we like to go to places to like relax and be
yeah,
quiet. So like that's how mine would be represented, and I would hope that that's what we would get for clientele. But like that was a no.
that
I think it's
that
just
was a
very, very interesting. I think we've looked at houses 3 times now, and I do feel like every time we get a little bit closer.
mhm,
Um, and every time it makes me appreciate like what we do for a living and having the right people involved, and how, again, I still just don't think that we do a good enough job of selling what we do as to like the
mhm,
importance of having a good realtor, the importance of having someone that knows neighborhoods and knows the HOAs, is doing the photography,
mhm.
all those types of things. So, I mean, it's been a really interesting experience to be on the other side.
Well, one thing I have learned is I have to eat before I go on these journeys. So before every road trip, I would make sure that I have my snacks. I wouldn't get hangry like I did the first time. But we definitely, have fun doing it as well, and, enjoy just the conversations of riding around all the different places and learning from Des. And I mean, she really honestly makes it a full experience. And I think that is super important too. And I am also thankful, as much as I want a second home as well. But I'm thankful when showing houses, we're not going hours, an hour in between.
Yeah,
Like going and showing 5 houses would take me an hour here, and I'm okay with
right.
that.
Where
Uh,
there it's like a half hour in between each one, like such a different
yeah,
lifestyle.
whew, man, that's tough. But well, everything happens for a reason. The
That's right.
universe is speaking. That deal didn't go through, and honestly, for the best, right? So you'll
Better
get
for you.
there's another one out there for you. So don't get discouraged, and it just gives us another reason to go later on, right?
Right?
Good, good.
Exactly.
Well, well, thank you for tuning in to the Leading Lane podcast. We'll check you on the next one.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Stay connected for more genuine insights and strategies to boost your real estate career on Facebook, or check out our website. We'll see you next time.